Hi, I'm Jacob Tangibly. Thanks for stopping by. I've been using Vectorworks since the year 2000, and if you're like me, you've spent a lot of time in Vectorworks completing your design work. For several years now, quite a few years actually, we've been looking forward to some UI updates in Vectorworks, and that day has finally come. Just a few days ago, Vectorworks 2024 was available for download. We installed Vectorworks 2024 to take a first look at it, and that's what this video is all about. Our first look actually turned into about an hour and 20 minutes, as you'll see on the runtime of the video. Why is that? I use Vectorworks on a daily basis and train folks all around the world on using Vectorworks. I've got a lot of experience inside this UI, and taking that first look, some things I was impressed by, other things a little bit perplexed by. There are some workflow improvements that we can certainly see. This whole video really became more of a deep dive where we simplified our user interface even more so than what was presented to us when we first opened up Vectorworks 2024. We get a good look at all the tool sets and menus and icons and new user benefits from this UI. So if you use Vectorworks on a regular basis, are looking to learn Vectorworks, if you want to have your team trained in Vectorworks, that's what we do at Tangibly. So tangably.com, tangibly.com. Check us out there for more information about Vectorworks and getting your team up to speed. But in this video, if you want to just check out the overview of the UI, the first look, that's what we do about the first half of the video. The second half of the video is where we get into the nitty-gritty of really reducing our user interface so that we can use Vectorworks on a daily basis with the least amount of distraction. So I hope you enjoy the video. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. Maybe consider sharing this video with other Vectorworks users. So thanks. Let's get to the video. First look of Vectorworks 2024. I've prepped the user interface of my workstation, and I've anticipated the update to this software for just about a year now. Basically, since the last update came out, we start dreaming about what could be included in the next package. Here we are. This is Vectorworks 2024, was just dropped on Wednesday. It is now Sunday. This was already installed actually a couple of days ago. I've been really good to just not even open this, just take some time with the family, relax, get settled in. And now it's Sunday afternoon. It's a beautiful day outside. And what would I like more than to get into Vectorworks inside a dark room like this? Anyway, so there would be plenty more nice days to come. I think the heat of the summer is finally over here in Austin, but what we're looking at here is an air-conditioned space with top-of-the-line hardware, a nice big screen, and now we have Vectorworks 2024 to open up and explore. We've been promised a brand new UI here in Vectorworks, and that is exactly what we have. This welcome screen, probably not exactly the UI. A lot of times they put in these promo images that are highly edited and doctored, although they're more and more realistic. Every year they do updates to the software, so I'm hoping that the UI just has that much nicer of a feel to it. So what do we have to do to take a look at it? You could definitely download and install Vectorworks 2024 right now, released last Wednesday. I've done that here on my computer, and I'm going to click finish on this installation complete screen, and we're going to take a look at the UI for the first time. So let's get some reactions, and we'll just take a look at this thing. I've really been looking forward to this. So every year, Vectorworks seems to release their software the day after the fall Apple product launch. So Tuesday of last week, you may have seen the product launch for iPhone 15, USB-C finally, not Thunderbolt, unfortunately, even on the Pro model, which they're saving an update for the 16 because they got to make you want another freaking phone by next year. So anyways, yeah, iPhone 16 next year when it comes out, finally like Thunderbolt connections for your pro camera to download all that high resolution imagery, videography, etc. That Thunderbolt update, the day after that, Vectorworks 2025 is going to come out. So what are we going to discover in 2024 and already start wishing that we had in 2025? So let's take a look. Vectorworks is opening, I notice I have a sign-in screen down below, so obviously we're gonna thought I already signed in, but all right, so we got through that sign-in screen and it was a little bit hidden, so if you're having trouble getting past that point on the install, look for a little window hiding somewhere in the vicinity or the peripheral of your screen. Seems like now that we've done that, signed in and did that short questionnaire, it looks like we've got a spinning beach ball, so I think we're making progress, and there's a little bit of a progress update down here. Currently, it is loading Cineware, so we'll give it some time to load some Cineware. Loading Design Suite Workspace, checking activation, and it's open. Vectorworks requires activation over the internet. I've got a window over on my other screen. Let's go ahead and activate that. I'm going to skip migrating the user data. We just want to look at the UI. We've got new online resources. Downloaded update, might as well. Update the libraries. That is 217 megabytes of libraries. So if you are trying to work from a hotel room, that's terrible. That was pretty quick here. But let's see. We do get a welcome screen that opens up. Don't need that. Oh, and it looks like the user interface is also open on this other screen. So here we are. First look at Vectorworks 2024. I'm on a Mac, so in Mac OS, if you double click on the header of a piece of software, it will maximize to the window, but not maximize, right? It'll make it, it's not full screen. It maximizes it, but it's not full screen. Let's click on Vectorworks one more time. I've actually got a resource manager that's hiding on another screen as well, so let's bring that into view. Now it's in auto hide mode, so let's click that little plus there to take it away from auto hide. Do I want to check for updates now? Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any updates, but we'll let it do that. It's currently up to date. Okay, so since I did not migrate into my preferences, I may be annoyed by some of these pop-ups because a lot of them have probably already been deactivated, and I imagine some of those user preferences would migrate over to 2024. Use your best judgment on that. Not sure why these keystrokes keep popping up here, and I don't know that we need them. Let's try some keystrokes. Command R, let's hide the resource manager. Command R, bring it back. Resource manager, it looks very similar. What they've done is, I think there were some of these buttons might have been down at the bottom of the window. These buttons look a little bit bigger. It definitely looks flatter and more grayscale. So if you're into that kind of thing, that's what we've got. So let's zoom in on the resource manager here. Diving in deep, we've got resource manager. Let's look at some resources. I always like looking at the car collections. Cars, no, but vehicles, yes. Vehicle. Do that. Ooh, a GMC Hummer 2022. That sounds cool. So, yeah, I want to put that in a workspace, in a model. But let's make this resource manager bigger and see how big we can get this here thumbnail. Wow, that is pretty big thumbnail for that. Okay, so we're on basically a resolution of 1080 for the UI, even though this video is in 4K, to make the UI just a little bit smoother. But essentially you can make this, what I'm seeing on a 1080p resolution is that this thumbnail can be absolutely gigantic. I don't remember that being a possibility in 2023, so that's cool. How do we see that as a plugin object? And we don't have it in a local file, otherwise we'd be able to change certain preferences of this view. So we have the thumbnail clicked, but we can't change any of these of the symbol plugin object preview. I like that. Nice big preview. But let's look generally. Let's back away from the resource manager. We'll come back to this. But we are seeing some nice updates here. Let's go back to the UI. Command R puts away the resource manager, and now we are here in the UI. Really, it's hard to see this and not think like Microsoft Office products with this big, large icon and description below it. But hey, that's the way things are looking. I don't know. So this is what it looks like. All these drop downs, definitely if you're learning the software, to be able to see all these tools available to you is useful, and some folks never turn these off, and that's okay if you've got plenty of screen and you don't mind the distraction. But I feel that my attention is at times at a deficit a lot of times, so the more of this that I can clear away, the less distraction. So what I'm thinking is we're just taking a quick glance at all the UI here, and then what I'm going to do is focus on turning as much of this off as possible. Yes, I know all brand new icons and they've worked real hard on cleaning this up. But first I'm going to start from a blank slate. So we'll take a look at that. So we've got the previous view, next view. Some of these buttons are not active, and that is because we don't have a document on startup. And I don't know if that migrated over from 23. I didn't use Migration Assistant. Maybe this is a new preference that Vectorworks has finally done, is that it does not open a document on startup, because this is my common, that just happens to be a common time-saving tip that I often share, is that you can set the preference to not. So I don't know if that's defaulted now in the regular install. I do see a little plus button here. This is new. So I didn't see this in any of the preview videos, but there is a plus there. Looks like you can create a new document right there from the UI. That's pretty cool. Let's go to File. We can definitely go to File, New. We can also do Command N and create a blank document. So this UI right here just looks like the previous version, so nothing different. We can use a template, and we can check, oh, they got a TV film set, UK metric. Great. So I feel like they're expanding these. So I think that was in 2023. Interesting that there is a film set for the UK, but not a film set for the US in Imperial. TV film set UK only. Curious. All right, so moving on. Yeah, I guess we could open a TV film set in the UK in metric and see what that looks like. Why not? So when we open this template, most of the templates have a README built in, so you can go in and read all about what's set up in this and why, etc. So I don't need to read that right now, but we see that we have a nice paper white background and super bright. I really don't want that. So what I'm going to look for now is, how do I get my dark mode active? So interesting, my spotlighting effect on the paper, this mouse pose effect, it's shuttering. So I'm wondering if that is going to be in the recording. So we'll go to settings, and I'm looking for dark mode. I'm lost already. Where is, okay, quick prefs here. Quick prefs, really zoomed in a lot. The quick prefs are listed here. So zoom line thickness, and what's this other one? Data bar options. Nope, quick prefs. Yes, there's my quick prefs. Used to be a little list below a caret. Now it is this panel of different icons. And what I'm looking for is dark backgrounds, not black and white only, but dark background. Okay, a fail there, I would say, because the text is there. This is obviously like, this is what I'm looking for. Why is this not a button? I think a clickable area around dark background on this huge panel be really helpful. I don't have to go like hunt for the little icon. I get it. Button's big enough, but for touch interface, which folks are starting to use, and gosh, we could port over to these M1, M2, M3 iPads, right? So anyway, dark background, toggling that on. We can get to that here with this button. So we added that quick pref. So what other quick prefs can we display? Again, I was trying to keep this to the most minimal. So that would be interesting, is that you actually don't have as many quick prefs up there. Those are all hidden, and you just open this panel. So we could take dark background off or unpin that. The other is the data bar options. We can unpin that, and we can unpin zoom line thickness, and essentially keep all our quick prefs off this panel. The thing is, we're not going to save any screen real estate by doing that, because as you notice here, we have the mode bar. And so any tool that is selected, you're going to have different modes for that tool. So we're going to switch to the rectangle tool we see here in the basic tool palette. And the rectangle tool shows different modes. These icons are different. And that is, yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm used to seeing the color graphic of this. I've seen it every day for a decade plus. How long has the icon had the reference to the modes? Okay, so after a while, you're just going to get used to it. First mode, corner to corner, center to corner, and etc. Using the letter U, we can cycle through that anyway. So if you already know the keyboard shortcut, you can do the U. We're not using option. Again, we have that sticky key, but U. Okay, it goes through the mode, and that's what we have. A lot flatter, less color in the UI. It's something that I immediately responded to. And the thing about it is, it's not consistent. Some of these icons, they do have color in them, like in the basic tool palette. So let's zoom in there, and we see that this one tool, the texture tool, which is actually relatively new as of last year, I believe. The texture tool is the only icon in the basic tool palette that actually has color in the icon. So it's not consistent. You'd think, okay, everything else is black and white, almost everything else, and then what happened here? They're just a piece of wood. Can we just use the hatch of wood to, yeah. So I'm curious about that. Some of the icons maintain their color, some of them totally drop it. Like a parking space icon, it was so obscure of a tool that it needed to have a blue sign on it. The bulldozer, you can't tell it's a bulldozer unless there's some brown. Yeah, so some of them are more muted and not black and white. So strangely enough, some of the more obscure ones. And then we have the more common tool set icons. All of those look like they've been updated or changed. And this is a huge one, is the building shell tool set. That icon has been rather iconic for a long time. It's just the 3D, it is just the 3D icon of the house in isometric view. And now we have more of a flat. This is weird. This is like, it's not in perspective, and it's not isometric. For a drafting and 3D modeling program to choose this icon is curious. It's like this flattened, foreshortened view, but it's got this cute little corner window on the building. So we're getting these, which is an obscure detail in a lot of architecture, residential architecture, because it's just expensive and the engineering of it is annoying. But yeah, so there was a choice. Some architect was involved in that, influencing that decision, I think, right? So the 3D modeling tool set, is that what that is? Bizarre. Okay, so 3D modeling used to be the cube, the cone, and the cylinder. Yeah, and so now it is a twisted form. It's a twisted column. It looks like a Twizzler. There's a section of a Twizzler, and that is the 3D modeling icon. Wow, okay. Terrible icon of a camera being used for visualization. I think before it was it like a light bulb? So it's different. Yeah. cable power planning. That's so again, some of these icons using very limited color palette, but still incorporating some color, some shading. So they're not flat, right? So a couple of them are more flat, but they're still outlines, more of a cartoonish graphic. The ConnectCAD is, the line work is not consistent, is what I was trying to say. I was observing that in some icons, there's a very faint line work and it's black, and in some of them it's gray. So there's a lack of consistency there. So just making some observations. There's this, it almost feels like Super Mario Brothers, like early 3D on the Nintendo when you zoom into this. It's like the suggestion of a pipe, but it's not three-dimensional, or it is in some respects. The bolts, yeah, there's no perspective to it, and it's not isometric, but it's still like trying to denote 3D. So curious. Site planning is like this weird, I guess that's perspective. A site, it looks like a site. It's got land, it's got contours, it's got the hardscape to it. Audio video, curious that they did, it looks like a computer monitor and then like a audio monitor. Yeah, I guess that gets the point across. Looks like a video screen. Okay. And let's see what else we got. The cabinet tool is an incomplete graphic of a cabinet. Furniture fixtures tool, the shadow line omits part of the object, so that it just doesn't add up. Like, am I being too fussy with this stuff? Probably, but as a designer, we're getting into the pixels of it. Okay, event. All right, we got a curtain. Not all events have curtains, but we've got one on this one, and it's a stage. Focal point, yeah, proscenium curtain and a stage for events. I used to have, I think, truss around that. I think there was truss in the icon. Rigging and Braceworks has its own tool set, and that is a piece of truss. And that's self-explanatory. Again, this foreshortened 3D object, not in perspective. And ConnectCAD gains a lot of tool sets here. And we did open the template for TV film set. So did that change the workspaces? Let's go to tools, workspaces, and we're in design suite workspace. So we have access to most of the tools. Nothing is customized of this, but we're going to start to customize it and remove some of these menus. Again, once we get a first look at these. So again, the modes, a little bit different. One thing I like to use is the wall tool. So if we go to the building shell tool set, let's try to find the wall. Wow, so these icons, all the color is gone from the building shell tool set icons. All of the color. But here's the wall. Found the wall tool. Let's go to a design layer. What I was looking at is the modes of the wall. That's what I wanted to see. Okay, again, no color at all. There is no color in the mode icons. Sorry, let me zoom out a little bit. Except for one. There is a center line of the radius. I feel like that could have just been omitted to show a center line. So it's interesting to me that there's like 15 to 20% of the icons just have a little splash of color, but they're the obscure ones in some circumstances. But then we have like a whole tool set for the building shell, for example, no color in that one. I want to take a look at the other tool sets and see how consistent this is. So if we go to the land planning, what is it? Site planning. There's a lot of color here. So did the different industries lobby for more color, more of a color palette, and then others didn't, and so therefore they just got omitted? I don't know. Here's the water. This is interesting. Like, this makes sense to me. Using at least one little splash of color, but then it goes mute in the building shell for the architects. So did the architects want more of a flat color palette. We're going to take a look at GIS. GIS, again, we've only got a couple of the icons that have color in them. One of them is not grayscale or white. It has black in it. So that is another unique situation. What is this? The space planning tool set is more consistent. Space planning, it's all monotone. I should be using the word monotone. Stacking diagram, etc. This is a great tool. I don't know if there's been any updates to this, just because it was just legendary when it was first created. So anyway, we're not going to focus on that. This is interesting, is you're getting in blended screen, you're getting a blended effect with the icon and based on the color that they decided to incorporate. That zoom is touchy. Let's try to get back in there. Here we go. So we got blended screen tool. LED screen has a ombre effect to it. So didn't omit the color there, but to appeal to the folks that like LED screens, y'all know who you are. Big LED folks putting up LED screens everywhere. You want a little shimmer? They gave you some shimmer there. And then again, that television tool pointing back to like AV. So televisions, setting up your AV. Okay. And then a totally different 3D effect for the video camera tool. We've got 3D effect for speakers and a speaker array. But again, they're trying to stay monotone with it, but the highlight on the speaker tool has a little touch of color. How did they get this? How did they build this consistency? Or what they've come up with. I'm just curious about the thought pattern here. And this went through committees. A lot of people looked at this stuff. So at some point there was a consensus was built around these. So the other tool set we're looking at is the lighting tool set, right? So the lighting, we've lost our yoke. So unyoked lights, who knows how you're going to mount this light, but I guess that way it represents both a floor light or a hung light, and it goes to more applications. When I clicked on this icon, I thought it was a bolt, but the bolt is here and it looks less like a bolt than the thing that's not a bolt. I get it. It's got the threading and this, I don't know. I don't think a lighting fixture. I think that there's something missing here. Sure, we'll find our way, right? We'll recognize that's the thing to click, but it actually looks like a cigarette lighter. That's what it is. It's a cigarette lighter. All right, so cable power planning. Anyway, so lighting tool set. Let's get into the lighting tool set. There is one icon, the lighting accessory tool, that has color to it. And that makes sense. You're putting in your color changers and they have color, so you can't represent an icon without color. Needs to talk about color. Yeah, so there's some color there there's one splash of color for you folks that do lighting. You do the color. So yeah, anyway, choose your whatever color you prefer. All right, so there we go. There's another completely monotone tool set. That is the rigging Braceworks tool set. It's just flat. It's monotone. There's nothing of color there. No chroma. And in the events, we have a geo image tool, which is really cool for festivals and events, even just like location-based design. Like you get a grand opening, something like that. You want to get a little street scene. You can start with geo image tool, and it's a lot more straightforward than Google Maps. Depending on your workflow, Google Maps isn't so hard either. Screenshot, that is. But that is the one tool in events that has a little bit of color. It's the earth, it's the ocean, it gets some blue. The entertainment event tool set. Everything is monotone except for one. All right, what are we looking at now? A lot of ConnectCAD tool sets in here. Let's click on ConnectCAD there. This, again, we are using the UK film set template here. And wow, they broke the mold on this one. Not only are they using color, but they're using fluorescent color a la Autodesk, AutoCAD, old school drafting colors, like layer colors, if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, magenta, some bright green, some green and red. That's different. You're doing your networking. You want to see ConnectCAD Schematics Tool Set. You want to see some color in Vectorworks new UI. Check out the ConnectCAD Schematics. Then we switch to, what is this, your racks? What ConnectCAD Layout tool, but yeah, you want to place your racks. Just some red dots. We can get any green, no magenta. You get a few red dots in there, mostly gray boxes. Okay, and then now we have our, what is this, the networking tool. What is this, ConnectCAD Cable Route tool. Look at this. Here's an icon that escaped the monochromatic whitewash. Is the set working plane tool. How appropriate too, because we're used to seeing that pink plane in Vectorworks to denote the working plane. We also have a layer plane tool. This is the cable route tool. So that's important, I think, is still maintaining the design layer plane in Vectorworks being a blue plane and the select working plane being that pink plane with the, not the 3D dragger, but the XYZ axes, and that is the red, the green, and the blue, right? What I'm curious to see, is this consistent throughout the UI? Do we still get our pink working plane and our 3D axes in color? And do we still get a design layer of blue plane? I do like that the icon shows an actual cable route along the design plane and also making its way vertical and across. So yeah, if you're laying out cable, that's, you're going to deal with that 3D puzzle a lot. So you got some color in that icon, and I think it helps. This is an example of why icons in a highly functional, highly diverse Swiss Army knife of software like this, a lot of the icons deserve some color. And I think the zeal to strip the color out of some of these other tools, I think could have been dialed back. I'm wondering if there's an option to go back to, I don't think there's an option to go back to the old icons. I'd be surprised if there was. Let's move on. The 3D modeling tool is not monochromatic, is not grayscale. And if we click on that being the tool set, and if we click on the tool set, whoa, there we go. We've got some highlighting of red. So there's a little bit of a thematic element going on here. So again, if we go back to our planning tool, right? This is the ConnectCAD Schematics tool, is this Ethernet plug that's recognizable. We get some magenta. But if we go to the 3D modeling tool, then we've got that red plane. That red plane is the selectable plane whenever you're working with 3D modeling tools. And so this has been really cleaned up. This might work. I might be being subtly convinced at the moment. But here's the thing. What is this? Okay, so it's a 3D locus. So it is not a coordinate. It's not XYZ. It is a 3D locus in space. We get no color on that. Okay, I could be sold on that. Yes, we have the set working plane tool, and it does have the magenta plane, and so does the align plane tool. This is consistent so far. I like it. What we have here are the selectable planes for push-pull. We see the red. We see the offset edge. The edge is red. Is that the same red? It's close. It looks like the red highlight's a little bit different for the line work compared to the face. Taper face, we get some red on there. This is a selectable edge in the deform tool, or the face would be. That's how you'd get that twist, but they did not decide to highlight that. Maybe because you're not actually selecting the face, you're selecting a point of rotation to twist, so fair enough. Okay, so any of the 3D tools where you're actually going to select the face or an edge, they've been selected. This project tool, there is no face. I guess it's not a push-pull or selectable face, so maybe that works, right? So no color there. And then we've got the analysis tool for analyzing NURBS, curve, or surface. And if you use that tool, let me know how you use it and why, because I got nothing to say about NURBS analysis right now. I've managed to avoid that. Okay, here's another tool set. Visualization tool set. Again, we've got that foreshortened camera, even though nobody uses a camera anymore. So it's almost like this is like a throwback, right? This is a throwback to this type of camera. I feel like it could have been a pro camera, not, I don't know. This looks like a Fujifilm like snapshot camera. Maybe it looks like an iconic camera I'm not familiar with. But when we click on visualization, we get a limited color palettes. Most of it is monochrome. We get a different camera icon. So that's curious. So we get this camera icon, not to be confused with this camera icon. They're obviously both cameras. I just feel like could have been a pro level camera for at least one, but this is what we've got, the RenderWorks camera tool. Maybe pro cameras are being phased out and this is more iconic. Fair enough. I'm sure there was like a bunch of research involved with this. I was not, none of that information was shared with me. So this is all just a discovery, just like if you were open it and I don't know, maybe you had information on how the icon should look. But so we have a light bulb. There happens to be some yellow applied to it. So that's an iconic color of an icon, but I feel like that could have been pulled off as flat. But then we've got the sun as yellow, obviously. So you definitely have to put a yellow sun behind a house, even though that house does not have corner windows. That's more of a middle class house with the sun shining behind it, so you can do shadow studies. But they've not yet, they didn't engineer this house to have corner windows in it. Yeah, so there's a different type of house. So some recurring iconography in the UI that is not consistent with the iconography language. I'm not an icon professional. I hope you didn't start watching this video thinking I was. So here we go. We've got a render bitmap tool, render bitmap tool, and no color in that, but it is about images. What color would you include? It's not functional, I think, is what I'm like picking up on, but neither is the yellow is, I don't know, maybe there's like some yellow highlighting within these tools now. So that's the other thing, right? Is the mode bar while using these tools. We'll get into that. Right now I'm just looking at the tool sets. I got down the rabbit hole of looking at, where am I? I'm looking at tool sets. I clicked on the, oh, right. Okay. So I'm on the visualization tool set, and within the tool sets palette, I see, let's see, render bitmap, RenderWorks camera tool has its own color. We've got some trees. Trees are green and they brown bark, so can't lose the color there. Foliage tool, subtle green. Camera match, a mask tool. It's a mask. That's cute. No color there. Would have been cool if it was the drama mask, though. I feel like that's what it was before, and it gave that kind of feeling. And then curious shadow on the camera match shadow tool, showing us there's a shadow around a cube. Okay, I think it does its job. It's different. We're going to get used to it eventually because it's what we use. And all right, here we are, the furniture fixtures icon. Again, I was a little confused by the inconsistent line work on that drafting there, folks. Anyway, so in the furniture tool set, we've got BIM object tool and shower, and we just see some subtle blue. I don't know. The blue is not actual in this icon. So that kind of breaks the theory that I had, because I don't think you can like manipulate these. The pedestal tool. Oh, I see. Okay, so it's highlighting the portion of the workstation that this particular tool is for, and this is just the desk tool. So nothing is particular about that. But then we have a seating section tool and we have an aisle tool. I feel like the aisle should have some color to show us That is why it's subtly different than this seating section tool versus this seating section tool. Oh, that's funny. We've got the seating section tool in there twice. Not sure why. I think that was just an oversight. Oh yeah, and the close rod tool. You can change the length of the close rod and add a shelf above close rod if you ever need to. And it's there, and it's a great tool, but there's no color. So sometimes they use color to denote why it's different than it's adjacent tools and related tools. Okay, so we're going to go to Dims and Notes tool set, another tool set that actually has quite a few tools in it and should be a very common one if you are drafting commonly on a daily basis. You'll notice that a lot of these icons are, almost all of them are monochromatic. So drafting for networking and planning your ConnectCAD, you get magenta and green, etc. But if you're using really often used iconography of drafting dims and notes, no color except for the red line tool. So you get a little red line tool and there's a red line, right? You wouldn't want it to just be a line tool. So you definitely have to have the red line to make people think red line. Constrain coincidence tool, and the current constraint has a little coincident locus, constrains a point of object to be coincident. It's green box to show you that point is green. That's it. That's it. Yep. Even on the dims, you don't get no color on that. What do we got here? This is the grid line tool. No color on the grid line. The tape measure tool. No color on the tape measure tool. Right. Okay. So again, we're getting into some tool sets that you may have never used. And some of these I have not used in over 20 plus years of using Vectorworks professionally. But if we look here at the detailing tool, this can be quite common one. And the detailing tool maintains a little bit of color. And we cannot represent wood without brown in this UI, it seems. So the wood is brown. And so is the repetitive unit tool. I'm not sure why the repetitive unit needs to be brown. This looks like one of those, what do they call it? The wood blocks that like interlock together. So maybe it's more commonly brown because it's wood. But that is the only time that we see color. Okay, wait, there is a bolt. Bolt and nut tool in millimeters is a blue steel look. And then we've got a channel tool. Could not just be a channel like in shape with these other gray steel. It had to be blue steel, different than the I-beam, the angle, the bulb flat tool. Right, so that's what's curious to me is this inconsistency. We've got the round tubing. We've got the rectangular tubing. Why does one have a black outline and one doesn't have an outline at all? So there's I'm seeing this. Is anybody else seeing that? Yeah, there's a lack of consistency of similar icons, maybe because they're not used that often and somebody didn't get around to it. I don't know. Time to launch, y'all. Maybe in the service pack. What do y'all think about that? In the service pack, will they update the icons that were not consistent in the palette? I see one. Okay, so y'all remember this song probably. One of these things is not like the other, and one of these just don't belong. And bing, there we go, the switch tool. Why is it outlined? Everything else here is monochromatic and has no outline, and the switch tool does. Okay, yeah, all right. So next, we are looking at, ooh, the zoom is messing with me. All right, fastener tools. So the tool set fasteners, what do we got in fasteners? We got a taper pin. It's always green, I guess. The taper pin. Some of these are 3D and have shading, and some of them don't. All of them have outlining, so inconsistent with the previous tool set. And what's in this? Okay, in the sub, we've got taper pin 3D is not green because it's in din and not inch. Okay, so that's how you tell the difference between those and those. So in inches, Imperial 3D taper pin is green. So 3D object is green, but this isn't. If it's 3D, if it's a parallel pin DIN, then it is green. But if it's an inch 3D, it's not green. So why does that change from one tool to the next? The DINs are green. The DINs are green. The DINs are gray. What's going on? Okay, so last tool set we've got, let's see, it's something that machine components. If you're a fabricator, this looks great. Did they do it? Is it consistent? Almost every tool here feels like it goes with the same tool palette. So I will commend them on that. Line work on this is a bit tight, but bevel gears is a fussy icon to make, so kudos on that. Bevel gears 2D looks more 3D than the 3D icon. That's strange to me. What else? Do we have more of this? Spur gear and spur gear 3D look almost identical. So a 3D gear icon would have been nice to tell me it's not just a spur gear, that it's 3D. The 3D hub, I guess there's only 3D hub anyway, but I don't use these tools, so I'm sorry if you do, but there's a little bit of consistency here that is lacking. We got a shaft and shaft 3D. One of them is shaded. One of them is not. That tells me 2D, 3D. Okay. That was strange that when I hover over, that is black and white, nice and bright. Read that and don't go bed tonight. Okay. Is this? Yeah, that's consistent. The highlighting was white, but it was in the other screen as I was zoomed in, so I wasn't clued into that. So there we are. That is, we've dug through all of the tool sets and their palettes. Basic tool palette, again, only has one icon that has color on it. That's the texture tool. Everything else is black and white, or monochromatic, really. Pretty consistent. Yeah, it seems like this was the one that was probably just like poured over because it was the most commonly visible. That being, and also the mode bars too, right? This is curious. I want to discover some more of the mode bars, and one of those being like the working plane. It looks like that mode color is consistent. This red kind of push-pull effect in the subface tool, and then we've got this red line for the edge. So the edge is red and the face is pink, and interesting, the red line is also outlined even in this little icon, so I guess that makes it stand out against the background. Again, I'm not a icon design expert, but I am noticing inconsistencies. If that's what was intended, then fair enough, right? All right, so we get some red here. That's pretty consistent. 3D modeling tool set. I love using this tool set. There's just so many capabilities with it. It's just curious to me when particular color is omitted. Like, for example, the deform tool. To tell the difference between these different types of deform, yes, I guess you could do that with just the grayscale. Twist face, twist solid. Yeah, I guess they couldn't have highlighted particular ones here to make that more noticeable. Even this symmetric and finite length, there's no longer a color to that dot, I don't think. Nope, no color on the dot. So you just got to know the tool and buy the overall icon. Zoom. Let's see. Let's look at the contour tool. No modes for that. How about the face? All right, so you're getting no color on those modes either. So it seems pretty consistent that the modes don't have any color highlighting on them. Let's go back to the wall tool, because that might be, let's see, pretty consistent. Again, that center line, no, there's red there. But then we've got the chain extrude, which is like a repetitive element. Ooh, even our polylines have gone monochromatic. So you may know this about a lot of tools in Vectorworks, is they're based on polylines or vertex and arcs, etc., as we're seeing here. And so if you have an arc, you're half the way to developing a 3D object. polyline or arc or whatever it be, right? So you'll notice this mode in a lot of tools. The wall tool, for example, you're looking at the modes there. But if I go to the arc tool, so arc is this one. Oh, and now it's highlighted, right? Because that's filled. It's a filled arc. But if we go to the polyline, there we go. It's monochromatic again. So that's pretty consistent. I like that. All right, so we've picked that apart. Just exploring. I don't get paid to design UI, so kudos. It looks pretty good. Pretty good. Notice a few things that maybe there's a little artistic license there. Without my expertise again. So let's look at the attributes palette. It looks pretty consistent with last year. I'm going to go ahead and tear that away. We can maybe make that bigger and zoom in a little bit. And not much has changed here. We can look at, let's see, default attributes, etc. Do we want to go into the color palettes? We don't have an object. Am I even in a design layer? Okay, yeah, I was just way zoomed out. Okay, so if I select an object and we want to go into the palettes here, we'll click on that color chip. The palettes look the same. Okay, there's a little bit of neutralization there. Just gray. I do want to list it. Okay, there's color. Let's see, we've got standard Vectorworks colors. Oh, how pretty. Consistent with dark mode. I like that. There were some panels and preferences and such in 2023 that were not consistent with dark mode, so I'm looking forward to seeing if that rears its head during workflow. Like I promised, I'm going to strip away this UI that I don't typically use. A lot of times I'll just have these things like attributes, for example, in a auto hide, and I'll place that somewhere near the top of my screen. I don't like having the ruler here. I don't really use it for anything. So I want to turn that off. And that is show rulers here. So I'm liking that these quick prefs aren't just icons up here. It seems to really clear things up. I'm going to go up here to the, what are they calling this? Quick prefs settings. And then within quick pref settings, I'm going to toggle off rulers. So we get a little bit there. Let's see, do we have document tabs? That would have been nice, right? So we see show document tabs, how many documents you have open in Vectorworks. There's a little tab there. I personally have that turned off in 2023 and before because that saves me that little half inch of screen real estate there. Curious if we can turn that off. I don't see document tabs as a toggle here on the quick prefs settings, the quick preferences settings. What I can do here, smart options display. Where is this? Oh yes, okay. So smart options display is when so you'll see I activated it with the middle mouse wheel. You can change your preference of how that's activated, and then the quick prefs are around the cursor. I have yet to get used to this. I know some folks that love it, but it can be a bit annoying when it pops up during a speed session or whatever. It's there if you need it. I rarely use it. It is useful to do some of the isometric if you don't have an extended keyboard and you're just working on a laptop. This can be real helpful to jump into quick views. So anyway, I don't really use that much. I'm gonna toggle it off. It's nice to have that quick toggle there. Show page boundary. Now, if we zoom out, we're going to see there is a page boundary around this project. Now, we didn't set this up. Again, we opened a UK template provided by Vectorworks, so I can't make any promises about any page boundary, etc. here. But if we toggle off the page boundary, we'll probably see the grid extend. Oh no, it looks like the grid is limited, so that works, but the page boundary is not there. So again, page boundary, toggle that off. Don't really care to see the grid either, so can turn that off. Show other objects while in edit modes. That's really helpful when you're editing like a group or a symbol or whatever it be. And so I prefer to have that on. This is a little bit more of it's a preference, right? But it's not like it doesn't feel as visual as these others Show click cube, that is a toggle on off. I'm thinking that is one of the quick refs that should be up there because it's a quick show click cube. You toggle that on, toggle it off. And I don't think that there is a keyboard shortcut for show click cube. Again, this option keyboard shortcut keeps appearing here is an issue of one of the keyboards. So don't be distracted by that. I'm just holding option the whole time. That's actually what I'm using to zoom in on my OS. So show click cube, I'm going to toggle that on. We should see. Okay. I tricked myself up. All right, you can toggle it on and off by clicking on this icon. Again, you cannot click on this huge space that describes what it is to toggle it on and off. But to place it here in your mode bar, you can click on the pin. So the pin puts it up there. So that's why you can't click on the description, is because Vectorworks doesn't know if you're trying to pin it or they're trying to toggle it. So answered my own questions there. You have some links down to Vectorworks preferences and document preferences here. That's probably where we can turn off the document tab. The tab. Show document tabs is actually in the window menu. That just came to me. So go to window, show document tabs, unselect that, and the document tab is gone. And you might say, what if I have multiple documents open? Or maybe you didn't say it that way, but there's going to be a list of those in window. The rest of the documents will be listed below that. So if you have 7 documents open, all those different documents will be there, and you can select them by name. So the tabs, it's nice in the UI. You can click between it if you're working with multiple files, etc. But this is also where it is. It's not that far away. And if you're working in multiple files, you probably already know it. So make your own judgment about that, whether you want to hide or show. But as you see, I gained myself another like ½ inch of screen real estate. I don't know what the actual measurement is, but it looks significantly different. So I like that. All right. So we've gotten rid of that. Are there any of these settings? I never really mess with text in my view bar, so I don't need that. So I'm going to remove the text from there. The snapping palette has found its way up to the view bar and requires a lot of space now. So what we're looking at is the snapping palette from here to here. The icons have been cleaned up a lot. I think they were monochromatic before, but the highlighting is a little bit more obvious. I like that instead of just the gray box. They're actually orange and gray, so I can see that it's actually active. I want all of my snaps active at the moment. I don't want grid snaps active, but I'm just not used to seeing it up here in the view bar. I actually prefer it down below. We see here are the coordinates. Get a better zoom on that. Zoom. There we go. We've got the coordinates down here, and I'm used to seeing the snaps down there. Used to be actually its own palette that you could undock. I don't think we can do that anymore. So it's a little bit more integrated. What I want to do is remove the snaps from the view bar. So I'm removing snapping there. Unpin it, not remove it, but unpin it. And you'll notice that Vectorworks doesn't make it go away. They say, well, snaps are actually important to what you're doing. And we're just going to tuck it down there at the bottom for you. And you have all your functions there for snaps. That, to me, is a great solution because this little chin down here with the coordinates is going to be there anyway. Yeah, so might as well integrate it there. Let's see what else we can get out of our view bar. We've got, let's see, plane preference. Views relative to working plane, views relative to layer plane. That's a nice little drop down, cleaned up. Okay, what do we got here? We got saved views. It's just a little icon now. It's no longer, I guess it was always this icon. It wasn't a drop down list. Be nice to expand that. Like if I could show saved views as a drop down with the active save view in the name, like I see here for the view is on the left-hand side. That is new. Putting the view on the left. Used to be on the right-hand side. after design layers and classes. But now we've got view, class, no, that's projection. Okay, so we got view, we got projection, and then we've got design layers, and then we have classes. So that's shuffled around a little bit. All right, we can also get there through the navigation palette. So if I pull the navigation palette away, a lot of times I'll just auto hide this one. And so if I hover over the navigation palette, we'll see here that I can expand that so we get more information in that panel, but it auto hides. So if I float away from it, this is how I access my design layers and my classes. And the design layers after the class in this end up here on the view bar, the classes before. I don't think we can't rearrange these up here, I don't believe, but we can rearrange these. What I'm going to do is actually just drag the design layer over one and then the class. It's more consistent with the UI, right? We've got design layer, class, and class. So yeah, just little tweaks like that help out a lot in your workflow until you go to somebody else's workstation and then you can't find anything you're looking for. All right, so I'm going to hide these. They're auto hiding, but I'm placing them up here at the top. And what I'm trying to do is open up the space here on the right hand side of the user interface. I'm pulling the object info palette away, and just like I did with the others, with the other palettes, I'm going to auto hide that one as well. And so again, that's just like switching that plus to a minus, and that is auto hide. So when I hover over it, I get the object info. So if I select this object, then I hover over that, then I get the object info. Depending on what part of your workflow you're in, you might actually choose to just pin that open. So anytime you change an object, that info is right there, and that can be really useful. You can also expand this quite a bit so that depending on what type of object you're selecting, it shows you everything you need. This will be curious. The description of shape, data, rendering would be nice if that was just an icon, because if you use this object info palette a lot, you're probably familiar with that. So maybe we can switch that to just, let's see, show screen coordinates. Show screen coordinates with abbreviated labels. That's not what we're looking for. We want to show shape data and render in our object info palette. Otherwise, I personally will be lost, because that's the only place you can find that info. It's not through another panel anywhere. Tab style, that's what I'm looking for. I want icon only in tab style. Yes, that is great. I'm excited about that alone. Wow, what a geek kind of thing to think, but I'm geeking out on this. Icon only, icon and text, or text only. Text only, that's curious. I think that's consistently what it's been. We haven't had an icon for it. So I could be okay with just the text description. Maybe I'm actually more comfortable with the text description than even the icons in this circumstance, because of the need to have as little friction in this scenario as possible. So see it, click it, use it, right? I'm going to go with text on that one. So again, I'm going to auto hide. We have cleared the right hand side of the screen, and you notice that we get more design layer, more sheets. We get more model on our screen, whether it's a small screen or big screen. So in this big screen, I get a lot more to interact with. What I want to do is make something a group, because when you group something and then you edit it, you get this exit group. You already have the orange highlight around the outside, and then this button in the upper right tells you what it is that you're actually within, and that you have the option to even get out. Edit group options. There it is. Window. Edit group options. Window, edit group options. Use a small exit group button. Boom. There we go. Seems obsessive, but the key here, the reason why I used this previously was because the object info would overlap the exit button at times. but it looks like we've gained some room here not having the quick prefs. So actually it could move these menus up tighter. In fact, when I remove the description from the view bar, then I can move those even higher. So I'm going to make those go away. I've moved this up. I tightened up the button there to take up less space. And what else can I do? I don't use the basic tool palette that often. That's because I use the find function. Letter F, we get the search function. And then I can search for any tool I want to use. If I just say wall, it finds me a wall. If I go to tools there, and then look, it's got some things are in color, some things aren't. You have a wall in site planning or a wall in building show, but you can select wall and then there's your wall, right? So I don't actually need any of these tool sets. I usually turn them off because if I don't know the keyboard shortcut for a basic tool, then I can still type it and find it. And a lot of times I know the keyboard shortcut even for the more advanced tools. So I'm removing the tool sets altogether, and we see we have the mode bar stays in place when I have a wall. I think at 9 is the wall tool, if I remember right. So double X on the keyboard to deselect. If I hit 9 on the keyboard, yeah, that's the wall tool. So that gives me all of that. So again, double X, deselect. No menus on the left-hand side. No menus on the right-hand side. So we have a lot of real estate here. I can go to navigation and go to sheet. Again, this was just a template that we opened. Command 4. We're seeing that sheet is a lot more full screen if you're working on renderings or floor plans or whatever. On 3D models, you're just going to get a lot more screen real estate to work with. Everything is minimized. That was the intent of this exercise. And then we're going to go back to this view bar, and we can bring that down even tighter by unpinning some of these functions that we may not use. I think I've pretty much closed anything that I wouldn't use. A lot of the other things I like having open. We've got our, let's see, oh, this is new here, is that drop down and create, okay, it's overhauled. Oh, you have your view options in here too. If you're on a design layer, so if I go to floor layout, for example, you see a lot of change there, but we're just basically in our design layer. There's no sheet. And if I click on that, oh, wait, no, that changed. Did that move, or am I just seeing things where they used to be? All right, so if I click on that little drop-down list, this is where we change. Oh, great. Okay, active only, gray others, gray snap others, show snap others, show snap modify. That is also controlled. If you select a design layer here, you can change your layer options, but layer options are also available now in this drop down list. Have those been there before and I just didn't know? Let me know in the comments if that is true, if that stuff has still been there for a while, because that's actually pretty useful to have that, to change things based on either active only on the icon changes. That's new. That didn't used to be the case. If you have a design layer selected, it's just that little sandwich icon of layers. But now the icon itself actually changes based on the layer options. I'm liking that. So show others, it shows others. Active only, it's just one layer. Gray others, the others are gray. All right, so that would correspond in your design layers too. So I'm liking that update in the UI. Snapping is denoted by an icon. No color. No, don't need any color for a magnet. I guess because it's not actionable. I don't know. And there's no color on the pencil, even though you could modify. So I guess the pencil icon and the wrench and pencil icon, does that change too? So let's see here. If we went to what has a wrench and pencil, it would be an offset. 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 If I go to the offset tool, that's not what I was looking for. Offset edge. No, the offset tool. There is a wrench and pencil. The pencil has no color. The wrench is subtly gray. but I have an Apple Pencil. It's the same color as that. So yeah, no color there either. All right, so we've minimized the UI just about as much as I can, or at least what I've done up to this point in 2023, and now we've brought that in 2024. We are discovering some of these. Ooh, I love this. So not just the layer options, but the class options as well. Those icons correspond. Let me get a zoom on this. Too far zoomed. Zoom out. Zoom in. There we go. Active only. One little dot on the tree. Gray others. You see the highlighted dot and the other gray. This graphically denotes how classes work, and I think pretty well. Gray snap others. You want to show others, show snap others, show snap modify others. You've got show snap modify just has the pencil. Snapping and modifying. You can only modify it if you're snapping and you're showing. The magnet goes away. You get a little check mark next to it. But when you change it to active only, again, you should be able to just look up and see I'm on active. I'm on actually show or active gray others, right? I'm on gray others. I change that to active only. I can see that I'm on active only for the design layer and active only for the classes because there's no dots on the tree there. So we're only seeing the one class, one design layer that is active. That's an improvement. I like that. Could that have a little bit of color to it? I think so. But there it is. And once you learn what to look for, I think this will be useful. Before, we didn't know unless we went to the navigation palette to go to the layer options. Or we went to, gosh, I haven't been up this way. Layer options, here we go. View, layer options, and this is elsewhere. But there's no icons here in the menu. Menu doesn't get any icons. If you know where you're going, layer options, there it is. But it's also right here, design layer and class. That's beautiful. I like that. Show snap, show snap, show snap. The icons change. That's a little magnet. Hard to see the magnet versus the pencil. That would be my critique on this one. So that show snap. This could benefit from a little bit of color. Just a little magnet, little pencil wouldn't hurt because it's just hard to see that pencil on top of what's behind it. Is it a pencil? Is it a magnet? Unless you really zoom in. Here's one way to tweak that. So let's go to preferences, Vectorworks preferences, and general. And now we can change the sizes. Dialog boxes and popovers will not be changed. Change the size of controls and the main interface. So controls, would that be the icons of all the tools? Let's try. Let's change that to small. It was on medium. Will it take a minute to reset? Yes, it will. And the icons are significantly smaller. Even harder to tell. Is that a magnet or pencil? That's a pencil. That's a magnet. So I think this here, this needs color. If we're going to make the icons that tight, we need a little splash of color there just to see the added function. This is actually a really good function visually in the UI, integrated to what you have open all the time. It's losing its function because of the lack of color. I think it deserves color in it, just like XY, just like the working plane and our little drop down menu arrows. So there's a critique there. Let's take our keyboard highlight away. One more thing. Okay, we were going to do. Let's try looking at the icons at least in as big as they'll go. So Vectorworks preferences will go to large icons. Maybe that just helps my older eyes. Take up a lot more space, but also the menus get bigger. You'll notice our alignment of everything kind of changes. That's a little bit too big. Maybe for demonstration purposes, it's actually really good. We see a lot more information a lot quicker. But do we lose resolution? I don't know technically if we do or not. All of this is more legible though. We see the icons better. I might go with big. Eyes are getting older. It's easier to read. Why strain so hard, right? We should make this easy for us. Nice big screen, nice big icons. I'm going to sit with this for a while. So if I select an object and I go here to the shape, what am I not? Okay, there we go. Go to shape. I'll leave that open. I'm able to read this stuff a little bit better, but these menus I think need to be, these palettes need to be bigger so I can actually read some of the sub columns. Like here, the description is cut off, so my object info palette could be bigger. Objects and sections. All right, now I can read that. Here, the rendering tab, it gives a lot more function. So I think for demonstration purposes, I think this larger iconography, larger menus is actually pretty functional. I like that. I like that we can toggle that within the UI of the software and not just the OS, because in the OS, we've already done that based on resolution of the monitor, but this is a layer on top of that. So like if your resolution's already below, so that you see less resolution in a bigger space, so things appear bigger if resolution's low, then this is one step further that you can go. The text, the menus, the tools. Yeah, for demos, that's what we're going to go with. We have minimized this, we minimized that. Object, we took the windows away. I want to get rid of these descriptions, and that should complete our process. We do have the scale. Could use the scale up there just to remind me that this layer scale, this is from that UK template, so I wouldn't normally draw on that 1 to 50. So I think it's good to leave that. What are we looking at here? Fit to objects, fit to page area. Rarely use these buttons or the zoom size. I usually just use the keyboard shortcuts. So I could lose that one. The zoom is gone. I've got keyboard shortcuts for that. That would be Command 6, Command 4. And Command 4 is page area, and Command 6 is zoom to objects. Could leave the scale up there. Plan rotation, that's helpful. Or rotate plan at times. That is helpful. Visualization, this would be the data visualization. Now gets its own drop-down list and icon here, which is cool. This will be lit up if I do have a data visualization. Space sizes by range. Hey, it turns orange to show you have a data visualization, and it's on. It's got a little play icon there too. Not really sure what the play icon denotes. If I go to wall fire rating, for example, does that change? No, but it does say you have multiple data visualizations. I don't know what the play icon is. I guess that it's active. I feel like that could just be orange. Like you're looking through a filter. Great. But no, you got a little play button. I don't know what else going to be offered there. Leaving that on, that could be useful. All right, now that I know where everything is, I can turn off this text label of view. There's classes, visualization, plane rotation, scale, and view bar. Description, that is called labels. Remove that, and that goes away. Saves us even more space, and again, we can move these menus up and park them over our mode bar and where we used to have our quick prefs. We're keeping the clip cube there because that's really functional to have nice and convenient. So it's going to park there. We got our snapping palette out of this space, so we saved us some screen real estate. It's parked down here waiting for us anyway. The tool hints are down here, no longer next to the mode, so keep that in mind if you're working on any tools and need some hints for, let's say for example, we're going to draw a square or a rectangle. We've got here at the bottom hints of what to do next. It's no longer next to the mode up here. It is down here on the lower left. So that's all there. That chin to the screen is going to go away. So therefore we might as well have our snapping palette. And one more thing we can do is we can, let me exit out of this group and double X on the keyboard to go to selection tool. And we don't need the zoom. All right, and the last thing we could do is go full screen. We'll go full screen with that is actually the Mac OS that we go full screen. Now, the challenge I have with that is the subtlety of running my cursor up to the edge of the screen. It does save a lot of screen real estate, which is really exciting, but these are really functional areas, and I'm not usually so precise to like just hover or like pixel density, like just get right up to the corner without actually bumping the edges of these, and then I have to bounce back away from it and then go back and try again. I don't like having to do that dance back and forth with the OS. So I actually don't usually use a full screen method. I just double click. I do have the document header here, which gives me a file name. Yeah, that's okay. It's the file name is the same as what would that info that would be on the tab, the document tab. So if I show document tabs, again, we lose screen real estate, not much screen real estate. If that's important to you, remove it. That name of that document is there, and if you have another document open, it would be there in that header. So the header stays open. We always know we're using Vectorworks Design Suite 2024. If you're not in Design Suite, you have Spotlight there, or Architect, or Fundamentals, or whatever it is, right? It would say that. 2024 is now. You've got your user information up there on the right-hand side, and everything else is the OS. It is nice to get rid of the OS and the header, but again, the usability, sometimes maybe if you're on a much higher resolution monitor and you don't mind the occasional occasional bump there just to get to this function, then that is a option for you. What else can we do? Let's see, we've got window palette options, auto hide docked palettes. Do we have any dock palettes? We don't. That is when you dock a palette on the edge. Again, that is an issue for me for multi-screen on a Mac OS, is going between screens, and then the dock palettes are auto hiding and not auto hiding, and then trying to select those right on the edge of the screen can be really frustrated. Let's see, display view bar in regular mode, auto hide mode, or display view bar in compact mode. So we have it compact right now. What if we do auto hide? Again, this presents the same issue, is we lose function of modes. Like we might be trying to go to a mode here and we accidentally select that. So that doesn't really save us a lot. If we maximize that, the exciting part of that is this is like the most full screen function that I've ever seen on any version of Vectorworks to this point. So this is pretty cool. If you're looking for just like the maximalist perspective on your project, hopefully a more exciting project than the one I have set here. Let's just go to a sheet. Yeah, so if you're looking to get as much space to view your sheet and no distraction, this is the most minimal you can go. But the challenge, if we want to go up to our view bar, is even worse in this circumstance. We can't hide our auto hide palettes up here and still see the view bar. We've got two different menus fighting on top of the modes that we actually might want to select. I know you can use keyboard shortcuts to select these. So if you're in this world, like you're working on a sheet for a while, or 3D modeling, whatever, and you don't really need to get up into the classes and the layers and the views and all that stuff, then I guess you could work this way. But this, as you can see, it's a bit frustrating. So we're going to go back to window, display, view bar in compact mode. That's how I like it. If I go back to display view bar in regular mode, it just gives it a giant, like it just takes up too much space. Like this is where that's not true. Our menus weren't there. Let's go back to compact and be fair about it. We'll bring our auto hide palettes down a little bit. And down. All right, so we got our auto hides there. I don't want this. I don't want it to function this way, but we're just gonna see this through here. Regular mode. Here's the regular. You got a giant button that says this is where your saved views are. View next, align plane, and then it doubles up this. You get all this extra space because we turned off all that stuff, but it's still 2 row, which it doesn't need to be 2 rows. So we're going to compact, Just learn what these things are on the right. These 4 icons, you'll be good. So view bar in compact mode. There's the most functional, no, got to get rid of this full screen in macOS. We lose the menu. We still have the menu and we have this giant document header. Take your pick, right? You either have it like revealing itself at the worst possible moment, or it's just always there. I think this is probably the happy compromise. But then again, we have to move these menus down even more. We'll bring those down. And this is probably the most functional Vectorworks that I enjoy. Again, you might be missing some of your basic tool palettes, your tool sets, etc., or you don't want to auto hide this. That is a personal preference, but I have really been getting into the habit of using the search command, the letter F for find. Thanks Bill Rios for finally convincing me I should try this out, and I've been loving it. So search Vectorworks for anything you want. You want to do a wall, there it is, or you can just hit the keyboard shortcut. If you want to see all for wall, it's all there, even the stuff in the menus. If you want to see just the things in the menus, there it is. And if you want to see tools, there it is. So that's the new UI of Vectorworks. I'm sure we're going to encounter a few other things as we work with this over the next months, and who knows, maybe a year from now. But so far, it's different. Is it better? I guess that's debatable. There's some usability function that has been added to it that I like. Again, the design layer and class options, layer options, class options, being able to graphically see what your setting is. I think that's useful. There's a few critiques, as you heard me say. Some of the icons could use a little bit of color. Generally, I can see the effort was put into. This is a great job for a piece of software. It's been around for nearly 3 decades at this point. Yeah, it's a nice upgrade. We've got our clip cube here. We've got our menus. I'll continue to move this stuff around pixel by pixel probably, but for the most part, I have my new workspace. So I want to go ahead and save that workspace. I'll go to Tools, Workspaces, and I'm in Design Suite. So if I edit current workspace, I can save this workspace as reduced. All right, and say okay. Modified copy has been saved. Okay. And I just want to save that. So I make sure that the next time I open it, go to Tools, Workspaces, and Design Suite Reduced. That's what I just set up. So do I have to, it says it was saved. I hope it is. Sometimes I just go ahead and save this file anyway. So save as, save that to the desktop, and I'm gonna call that a session. So I hope you enjoyed this. Open up Vectorworks 2024, start exploring it, and let me know if there's anything you discovered in the comments down below, and would love to explore more with you. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, hi. If you're still with us, maybe you enjoyed that video. Would you do us a quick favor and show some support for the channel by liking and subscribing? And if you know somebody that might enjoy this video and get some value out of it, please share it with them. Thanks again. Have a great day.